So what is up, guys? Welcome to another video, and today we are looking at Star Wars The Black Series Fennec Shan. Ever since this figure is announced, it's been on my list because I have a bounty hunter shelf and Fennec Shan is a bounty hunter, so I was very excited when this came in the mail. Now, right out of the box, first impressions, everything looks good, nothing looks weird or off, so let's get right into the figure. So starting off with articulation in the head region, she can do a full 360 with the spin. She can look up and down, but it seems like the hair in the back of her head kind of clashes with her neck, limiting how much she can look up. And then she can tilt her head side to side, and then here's a better look of the hair that kind of clashes with the neck. Getting into arm articulation, you can rotate her arm 360 degrees, which is always good. And then elbow articulation, you can bring her forearm up pretty good before it clashes with the bicep. And then getting into wrist articulation, sometimes it's 50-50, sometimes you're able to bend and pose the wrist however you want, but sometimes it just wants to stay straight, which can be unfortunate, but it isn't the end of the world. Getting into torso articulation, she can achieve some kind of crunch and rotate 360 degrees, and she can also wobble side to side if you really wanted her to. But I'm not complaining because more articulation is always good. But getting into leg articulation, you can bring your legs up a good amount, and getting into knees, you can't really have her achieve a butt kick, but she can bring her knees back good enough so she can look like she's running, or just, any, simple dynamic poses. She can achieve a half split if you really wanted her to, but her cloak kind of gets in the way. And then feet articulation is really good. You can pretty much angle the feet however you want, so you can have her pose in almost any way you want, because the feet articulation is really solid on this figure. So overall, despite that one issue in the head area, I don't think that's a deal breaker at all. I don't think that ruins the figure by any means. I think this figure has solid articulation, which is a really good thing to see on a figure. And one thing I actually really like about this figure is the amount of detail Hasbro put into recreating the lines and patterns on Fennec's clothes. It just looks, I think it's a really good translation from on-screen to figure. So props for Hasbro for taking that extra step. Going over the one blaster that comes with Fennec Shan, and that is her Mark sniper rifle, or her MK sniper rifle. I don't know what the actual pronunciation is supposed to be. It's just MK sniper rifle, and I know MK is the abbreviation for Mark, so I'm going to call it the Mark sniper rifle, but it's just a simple on-screen to figure scale translation. I think the sculpting looks good. The paint job is just solid gray, so nothing too crazy. They even got the little red dot on the top of her scope, so I think they did a good job with that overall. And they even got the sling down right. They got the orange accents that we do see on it, so good job on Hasbro's end for getting that all down right. One thing I really do like about the blaster, specifically the sling, is how secure it is. You see I'm shaking it all around and nothing is coming out, and the reason why is because it's held in with these two pegs, and it just does the job really well. It keeps the sling in securely and doesn't allow it to fall off easily and just be an absolute nuisance. The reason I bring up the sling, besides it being a feature with Fennec's blaster, is if we take a look at Aura Singh's blaster, her sling pops off very easily, and it's very frustrating. It would even pop off when trying to pose her with her blaster. It's just an overall frustrating system they did with Aura Singh's sling. But with Fennec Shan's sling, it is a vast improvement, and I'm very happy with what Hasbro did to execute her sling on her blaster, and hopefully they do that going forward after this figure. But I just wanted to show you guys the improvement that Hasbro made when it came to the sling system, and how happy I am with that, and I just think it's overall executed really well, and I hope they keep doing it. And next up, we're going to be doing some size comparisons, because those are always fun. Starting off with some characters that Fennec Shan is acquainted with throughout the Star Wars series. We have an Imperial Artillery Trooper, Din Djarin, Boba Fett, and Hunter. Up next, we have some Star Wars The Black Series droids, that being K2, R2-Q5, and R5 Astromech unit, and a mouse truck. Now changing things up, we have the Lego Republic fighter tank, and I did do a review on this, so if you want to see that, you should go check that out. And finally, a Boba Fett Funko Pop from The Mandalorian Season 2. And finally, we're at the turntable showcase segment of the video, where essentially you get a good look at the figure without me manhandling it, while I go over my thoughts on the figure, pros, cons, and all that. Starting off with cons, because I like to get that sour stuff out of the way. So starting in the head region of the figure, I already mentioned this before while going over the articulation, where her braid starts to form. It kind of seems to clash with the back of her neck, which kind of limits the range of motion when it comes to looking up and down, which is a little unfortunate. Like I said, I don't think it's a deal breaker. I don't think it ruins the figure. It's just something that's there. The only other con that I can really think of has to do with the helmet. Now, the helmet itself looks fine. I think they executed the sculpting, painting, and all that fine and well. It's just when you put the helmet on the figure is when the issue starts to appear, and that's the eyes don't line up with the slit. So if you're paying like real close attention, you're not gonna necessarily see her eyes through that slit. Now granted, you can kind of swivel the lower piece up and down, so you can fully close the helmet if you want, so that you can do that if you want, but otherwise it's just really distracting to see her forehead through the slit rather than seeing her eyes. So now going into the pros of this figure, starting with sculpting, and the reason why I do that is because the line work done all over this figure on her clothing is just phenomenal. The patterns, the lines, it's just really impressive how much detail Hasbro did put into this figure when it comes to their clothing. Now the second pro is most likely me just praising Hasbro for doing what they're supposed to do, but I think they did the paint job really well on this figure. I don't think they smudged anything. Nothing looks wrong. They just did a good job with the arms and the legs. Now her color scheme isn't too terribly complicated. It literally consists of two colors, black and orange, and I think they just did an overall good job at executing the orange on her attire. Overall, I think that this is a really solid figure. I don't think it excels in anything. I don't think this figure goes above and beyond, but I don't think this figure also, does bad in any fields. The cons with this figure are just minor inconveniences that I don't think are, deal breakers or ruin the figure at all. And I really like the presentation of this figure. I really like the sculpting and the paint job. I don't know, it just really sticks out to me seeing the amount of detail Hasbro went through to do all of Fennec's lines and patterns on her clothing. But overall, I just, I think it's a solid figure. And if you are on the hunt for the Mandalorian or the Book of Boba Fett figures, I highly recommend this figure. But with all that said, I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, a like and a subscription would be really cool. I'm not going to make a comment because that's a lot of effort and the bell is broken, so don't even worry about touching it. So anyways, hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all in another one. I got a bunch of Lego stuff on the way.